So today I wanted to take some time to talk about the truth route in 100 Line Last Defense Academy. And I'm sure that probably all of you know what I mean, but I'm talking about the second scenario route ending 0-1. But there's going to be full spoilers for that route, for the ones that branch off of it, and maybe even for some other shit. So yeah, this is definitely a you've beaten the game type of video, right? And basically I just wanted to talk about what I thought of the route overall and yada yada. And now this is very much so one of those games where every route and every ending is canon, and it's also pretty undeniable that technically the specific SF route ending where you break the time loop is definitely the last route, because it's 0, then it's the 99 where you're in the loop, and then it's SF, and that therefore technically the truth route is not any more or less canon than any of the other routes. But a lot of people do kind of see it as the true route, which makes sense because it is the longest, it's the most in-depth, yada yada yada, which is why I wanted to give it a special spotlight. And personally, when it comes to this route, there's a few things. So one, the route doesn't have any sort of locks or anything. The only routes that have locks are the murder mystery route and SF. So theoretically, it could be your first or your last route, right? And I feel that this is good and bad, right? Because the reason why it's good is because obviously this route gives us the full true truth about everything, and it's really nice that you can just fully learn about everything from a single route, and that you don't have to play a bunch of routes and put the pieces together. But alternatively, every single big reveal in the truth route, except for one, is also talked about and covered in multiple other routes. And therefore, this kind of creates the effect where if you play the truth route early, then it kind of spoils all the big reveals for future routes, and then nothing will shock you for the rest of the playthrough. And if you play it late, then the first 60 days until you get to the big twist is all gonna be just them revealing shit that you already knew and learned in other routes. And because of that, it really is just all the meat is really in those last 40 days. And I feel that considering the length of the route, that could be seen as a con. So that's a pro, that's a con, that's yada yada yada. Now, for this next one, for the second thing I want to talk about, it falls into the category of I'm going to have to go on a little bit of a tangent so that the point I want to make makes sense. But basically, for me, I got the truth route pretty late, which I think is part of why I feel this way. And I'm sure that for a lot of people, they wouldn't feel this way because they got it early. But when I was playing through the other routes, and I played through the entire game blind, yada yada, when I was going through, something that I noticed was that in routes where Takumi falls in love with or pursues romantic relationships, if it's Nozomi or if it's Ava, the relationship got the manifest. But with Jerumi, Kyoshika, Tsubasa, Kurara, with all of them, they talked about a potential relationship, but nothing actually came to light. And, like, I couldn't help but think, like, ooh, we've got, like, 25 routes and 100 endings. Like, why is that? And it made me start to think there must be something about Nozomi and Eva that's different than the rest of the SDU. And then that's when it clicked, and I realized Nozomi and Eva are not SDU members, but everyone else is. And so therefore, before I even got to the truth route, it clicked in my brain that there was going to be some sort of big twist that didn't affect Nozomi and Eva, but did affect everyone else, because it was a, for lack of a way to put it, it was going to be a twist that only applied to SDU members. And I also, despite not knowing what the twist was, I figured that somehow, some way, it was also going to be a twist that destroyed shipping, because shipping wasn't happening for anyone in the SDU in an actual tangible way. And therefore, when it was revealed that all of the SDU members are half-siblings, and that they're descended, that they're clones of Xion that have had human DNA mixed into them, so that they're mortal, so that if they need to be disposed of, they can be, because actual full-blooded Futurims are, like, basically immortal, at least to conventional human weaponry. This was the type of thing where, like, I hadn't quite deduced that on my own, but, like, I was close, and it didn't, like, fully surprise me, right? But basically, the reason why this twist, like, this was a twist where, like, I get it, but it also was disappointing, because, like, I get that, like, their logic is, like, I'm just gonna make up an example, like, there cannot be a route where Takumi and Hiroko, like, get together and have sex, because of the fact that in the truth route, we learn they're half-siblings, because they just didn't want to put blatant incest in the game. And obviously, like, I feel like that's a good thing, but I also feel like that, like, your target audience is Danganronpa fans, and Danganronpa fans love shipping. That's the thing they care the most about. And therefore, I feel like it would have been better if the big twist was something that didn't destroy that. Because as things stand right now, like, unless you're someone that's cool with incestuous shipping, it's kind of like Takumi Nozomi, Takumi Eva, and Nozomi Eva. And then I guess also, like, if you want to, like, ship people with Sirei or Nigo, or ship people with Veshnes, like, those are kind of, like, the only ones that didn't sync. And that just felt disappointing. Because, I feel like when you play a game with 100 endings, it's supposed to feel like everything that you can imagine, like, it's canon somewhere. So the fact that it was restricted that way is weird. Especially considering the fact that, if we're speaking about it realistically, there's an infinite number of universes in the multiverse, which means that realistically, like, even though we didn't see it, a reality where they were incestuous with each other and didn't know it happened, and therefore it's kind of weird that they just, like, hand-waved that away. And then another thing is that the route as a whole, when it comes to, like, the third act, well, okay, not the route as a whole, we've talked about that, but the third act of the route I'm even conflicted on, because part of me is like, it's very obvious that, you know, the SDU sacrificing themselves and having everyone except Nozomi die to save the entire planet of Futurum. Like, that's obviously the morally right thing to do. Like, do we sacrifice a dozen teenagers to save a planet that has millions or more? Like, yes, of course you do. Of course that's the right decision. But another part of me, though, is like, the only invaders in the entire game that have any sort of character development are Veshnes, Commune, Del Shah, Ava, and Adamake. And then the other 15 don't even have personalities, really. And we don't really learn, and we also don't really learn anything about, like, the world as a whole, or, like, the people, and yada, yada, yada. And therefore, like, considering that, like, what I'm looking for is emotional investment, and at the end of the day, like, I'm a person playing a video game, and, like, the world's not actually getting destroyed, right? It's very easy to be like, I care more about the SDU units on an emotional level than I do about the people of Futurum. And therefore, emotionally, it's just like, it doesn't feel good or satisfying as an ending to have everyone sacrifice themselves for the planet, even though it's in the category of, like, emotionally, or, like, even though logically they did make the right decision in the grand scheme of things, right? And then there's also just the fact that, oh yeah, and then also another thing is that this is definitely very minor, because, like, obviously, like, I understand that when Takumi loops, like with the exception of SF, Takumi only remembers Route 0 and whatever route he's in. But, like, so, like, it makes sense that they didn't know, that, like, the fact that they thought Ava was the only commander, killed her to get their memories back, and then Del Shah showed up and they didn't even know he existed until he showed up. Like, that does make sense, but I also feel like that because of the fact that, like, Del Shah is in, like, 20 of the 25 routes, it just making it, that was having it so that, like, it wasn't even an option to get the memories by absorbing his cryptoglobins over than Ava's was definitely, like, frustrating. But again, that's just, like, a minor little nitpick. And really, I feel like that, like, I mean, first of all, I love this game as a whole. This is absolutely my game of the year of 2025. But I think that really the thing that inspired me to make this video is just the fact that I realized that overall, it seems that the community likes the truth route far more than I do, and therefore I just kind of wanted an outlet to, like, vent my grievances and frustrations with it. And I guess that's it. I mean, this ended up being a lot shorter than I thought it would be when I imagined it in my head. But it's also true that a lot of the time when you're thinking about things in your head, your thoughts will kind of loop. But obviously, you can't do that shit when you're making a fucking video. But yeah, so I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to let me know what you think, even though I think it's likely that most of you are going to disagree, and I think that there's also probably, it's like I'm probably going to get roasted in the comments, because I think that a lot of people are going to, I feel like that people that watch this all the way through are going to think that I said that there should have been incest, even though if you actually watch the video, that's not what I said, just because people don't know how to listen. But yeah, anyway, end of video.